In the Wildsee, a lonely mountain lake situated in the heart of the forest, have long dwelt a race of water sprites, once ruled over by a king, a wicked and cruel monster who, it seems, treated his undine subjects very little better than he did any unhappy mortal who might fall into his power. One day, now long ago, a young shepherd, by chance, passing near the lonely spot, was attracted by the sound of sweetest music coming from the shore of the lake. Pushing through the dwarf pines with which the lake is bordered, he beheld a lady more beautiful than his dreams could have conjured, and how far more lovely than any of the homely village maidens it had been his lot to meet, how much more beautiful than his own betrothed Ada. The lady was seated on the bank, her white, bare feet dipping into the water. By her side lay a milk-white doe, and in her hand was a harp, on which she was discoursing eloquent music. Hermann, the rough shepherd lad, could but gaze entranced upon so fair a vision, entranced and motionless, fearing even to approach, lest in a moment it should vanish from his sight. But when the beautiful apparition spoke to him and beckoned him with winning smiles and flattering words, he would have been more than mortal man to have resisted the soft appeal. In a moment he was at the siren's feet. From that time, the whole character of the youth changed. Formerly light-hearted, industrious, and easily pleased, he became morose and sullen, given to fits of deep abstraction, and apparently dissatisfied with himself and all about him. The luckless Ada, to whom he had hitherto been the most affectionate of lovers, could only wonder and weep at his strange behavior, while her father, who was also Hermann's guardian, determined, if possible, to probe the matter, or at least to find out the cause of the young man's repeated absences from home, as to which he would give no sort of explanation. Following him, then, one day through the intricate paths of the forest, he tracked his footsteps to the shore of the wild forest tarn, that haunted spot of evil omen. A terrible fear took possession of the old man's mind, a fear which was destined to be no less terrible a certainty, when, just as he came up with the youth, he saw glistening through the trees the shining garments of a woman seated behind the water, harp in hand. In vain the old man tried to draw Hermann away from the fated spot. "Unhappy boy," he cried, "do you not know that you are beguiled? That she who looks so fair is but luring you to destruction, that she is the siren of the Wildsee." "I care not who she is," returned Hermann passionately. "I only know that she is all the world to me. She has never told me her name." "Ask it, and be convinced," said the old man sadly, as he hastened away from the dangerous ground. These words of the old man rankled in Hermann's breast, for in truth he had many times asked the names of his charmer, and she had invariably put him off with some excuse. Now he resolved kindly but firmly to press the matter. "If you love me, you will tell me by what name to call you," he said persuasively, only a day or two after the discovery by the old shepherd, for not a day ever passed now without a meeting between the mysterious lady and her lover. "I will not believe your love," he added, "if you refuse me this request." For a few moments the beautiful lady was silent, her looks downcast, her breast heaving. Then, suddenly, she raised her eyes, blue and clear, to the young man's face. "Alas," she cried, "I do love you, as I had ever dreamed of loving, and it is for this that I would spare you. But if you will have it so, I grant your request. Only remember that in so doing I risk destruction to myself and you. Will you promise, on the word of a man, that you will never call me by the name I tell you?" Of course, Hermann promised, and the name was whispered softly into his pleased ear. "It is a name that suits you, Water Rose," said the young man fondly. "Hush!" cried the sprite hurriedly, looking round as though in fear. Soon after this, at one of their usual meetings by the lakeside, the face of the lady wore a sad and troubled expression, and tears filled her beautiful eyes. "Alas," she said, "I do not know what trouble may be in store for us, whether this may not be our last meeting. The Water King, who rules the lake," here she shuddered, "is jealous of my true affection for you, is angry that I have not before now lured you into those dark depths. I implore you to leave me now, and at once. It may be days before I can revisit this trysting spot. Be sure I will come when I can. I should perhaps bid you never come near the lake again, but I have not the courage to condemn myself to so much misery. Only I pray you be cautious and—" "Dearest," cried the young man desperately, "fly with me now, at once, away from this haunted spot, and swear that nothing shall ever separate us." The water sprite turned on the youth a look of yearning affection and held out her white arms to him. But at the same moment, from the midst of the lake arose the form of a coursing giant head, crowned with a tangled mass of clinging weeds. Before Hermann could clasp the lady to his breast, she had sprung from him, and, with a cry of despair, leapt into the still dark waters of the lake. The last sign from her, a waving hand that plainly bade him leave this fatal spot. Yet he lingered, and day after day he came as usual to the trysting tree, where so many happy hours had been passed, and waited with beating heart and straining eyes for one glimpse of his lost love. At length, wearied out by repeated disappointments, he one day threw himself on the soft green moss beside the lake, and as he tried to gaze down into its mysterious depths, cried out in a voice of passionate sorrow, Water Rose, come to me once more." He had forgotten his promise. Scarcely had the words passed his lips, when from the depths of the water sounded a stifled, unearthly cry, while at the spot whence the sound came a tinge of crimson seemed to dye the surface of the lake. At the same time there floated the young shepherd's feet a pure white rosebud. Es schwimmt zum Ufer da, dein weißes Roslein Haar, dein Aug auf Erden sah, den Herd Eugnaben Meer. Translated into English: It swims to the bank there, a white rose. No eye on earth saw the shepherd boy any more.